La Mer.
So, I know I have just recently had a book shopping vlog at my local Gottwal's Books. However, literally like a day after I actually went and did this trip, they posted on their Facebook that they were doing another of their buy 10 books, get 10 books free deal that they had, I think it was last year or the year before, probably the year before because of COVID, but anyway. So yeah, it was irresistible, and also I had plans to meet up with someone from my church to get to know them and show them around the location out in Warner Robins, since they had never been before, and it's pretty much the biggest of the locations since they have 2 stories at one. And so yeah, we decided to go yesterday, and in the end we ended up just like combining an order to get the deal. But yeah, I ended up with approximately 15 books, 14 maybe. So yeah, I figured I would do just a haul of what I ended up with this time, because I just took that trip to just kind of talk with her, get to know her, and it was awesome, and definitely excited to hang out with Angela again. So anyway, let's see what we got. So the first book I have is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, which I have seen all over the bookish community, where it has just taken a lot of people by storm, and especially when the sequel to it came out, I believe last year, perhaps. So this was book number 1. And this book is technically not part of the sale since it was a new stock book, but I've been looking for a copy since I watched the show and couldn't help myself, and that is Tiny Pretty Things by Sona Carapotra and Danielle Clayton. Probably butchered that first name to no end. Usually I can do fairly well, but this one is mastered me. And so yeah, ballet themed like thriller murder mystery. It was very interesting to watch the show, and I'm very curious how the book compares. Next we have Everland by Wendy Spinell, and this is a book that I heard about from Haley in Bookland during one of her recent like book lists, probably over Bookmas, and basically it's part of a series of books where it's like steampunk retellings of fairy tales. So this one is based off of Peter Pan or Tinkerbell specifically, maybe, assuming from the cover. And then there's another one for Alice in Wonderland as well, and I think 1 or 2 others, but I don't remember what those ones are offhand. Next, we're branching away from YA for a moment with The Wife Between Us by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. And I've been kind of curious about this book for a little while, since I think it did come up as one of my Book of the Month options a little while ago. But I did actually recently listen to The Getaway, which is a super short, like 2-hour Audible original by the same author duo, and it was awesome considering how short it was. Like, I don't know how you fit that many plot twists and stuff into like 2 hours, but they did it. So yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, it could be like 3 to 4 hours, because I would think I was listening on 1.5 speed, but anyway, still very short. So I now completely trust them and went ahead and grabbed a copy. Another book that I ended up picking up, and part of this is due to the fact that before the sale, of course, things were like half priced. I have always had an issue with trying to like get into high fantasy. Every time I look at so many of the covers, I am in awe, and they're so beautiful, and I would love to take advantage of them and have them as my own. And especially with the fact that like series like Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses are like everywhere. I'm always in there, okay, maybe I should give them a chance, but so often then I pick up a book off a shelf that is high fantasy, and I start reading the description and my whole brain goes, no. But I want to actually try and give it a chance, so I did read through the descriptions on like 3 or 4 different series that they had there, between Throne of Glass, Court of Thorns and Roses, Red Queen, and I think 1 or 2 others, and ended up going ahead and grabbing Throne of Glass. And also part of the reason why this went out is because Angela was also considering getting it, but wasn't sure if she had a copy, and I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a chance. If I don't like it and you are actually missing it after all, at least it will have a designated home, one way or the other between us. But hopefully I like it. I'm really gonna give it a shot. The next one we have is Glitter by April Lynn Pike. And I want to say I've like heard mentions of the title before, and just can I take a moment to appreciate this cover for a moment? Because also, apparently this is like a royal murder mystery sort of situation, so apparently I'm really into some of the royal stuff that's not like straight up high fantasy, so maybe we'll find a crossover, you know? This next one I believe is the last 2 books I ended up with, or next to last 2, and basically looking through the books, we must have pilfered through the YA section a good 5 times over, making sure we hit everything to make sure we found everything we wanted. And yeah, so I ended up taking a moment to see what this particular set was about, since it kind of reminded me with the title of the Disney Twisted Tales, but it is a little bit different. And so we have 2 of the 3 books in this series, which is Dream a Little Dream and Dream On. And apparently this is about a girl who is about to start school in London, and ends up having dreams about these like local boys for the area that she's never actually met, and somehow they actually know things about her personally that they couldn't know unless they actually knew her. So it's kind of like a mystery, trying to see like, are they legitimately like getting into her dreams? And I found it very interesting, and also some very nice covers for the set. The next one is a book I've had on my wish list for a little while now, after I first came across it on my book outlet like deep dive back in the day, and that is The List by Siobhan Vivian. And this one is where there's a list posted in the school just prior to homecoming, where they're basically talking about the prettiest and ugliest girl of the grade. And let's see. I'm getting confused with another book of similar, but basically just dealing with the results of this list as it circulates the school. The next one is part of another series I've seen kind of dotted around a few shelves as I've watched through BookTube over the last couple years, and have been very curious about, and that is Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page, where I don't really know what's happened, whether this is just like an alternate universe thing or if it's like down the line Dorothy has turned evil just sort of on her own somehow. But yeah, it's got my attention. Next we have another long-time resident of my wish list due to Book Outlet, which is The Memory Book by Laura Avery. My bad. And so this is pretty much about, let's see here. So I've got a few books that I deal with like amnesia and memory and stuff, because that's also a topic I apparently really like reading about. Another one was Remember by Eileen Cook, which was interesting. And so there's apparently a rare genetic disorder that she has that apparently will slowly steal her memories and then her health. So she starts using a memory book, which is a journal written to the main character Sammy's future self. And yeah. Speaking of the memory book, I had noticed that it seemed to have been placed in two different spots in like the YA teen section, and so when I went to go back and grab it, I also found out that I was not seeing it twice in two separate places. I was just seeing two very similar books. So we have here the memory book, and then the other one I was seeing is this one, the memory key, with a very similar spine. So I was thrown off by that. But this one was also very interesting to me, and it's called The Memory Key by Liana Liu. And this one, basically, there's a chip embedded in her brain to ward off Alzheimer's like Vergette's disease. And let's see. It says a minor accident has actually damaged her chip. And let's see. It's basically saying that with the memories and everything being broken, she's remembering something about her mom's death that makes it seem like maybe it wasn't an accident after all. So also very intriguing to me. Next we have a book that I had never heard of before, but went ahead and saw a pretty cover and was like, let us read the description, see what it's about, branch out. And so we have Ruby Red by Kirsten Gier, who is actually, now that I think about it, I believe the same author as the Dream a Little Dream thing. And yes, she is. And so this one is also centered on London as a location. This one is basically where her family is a bunch of time travelers, basically. And definitely intriguing to me as well. Another topic of interest, time travel. And the next to last book is once another long-term resident from the wish list with We'll Fly Away by Brian Bliss. And it says, best friends Luke and Toby just want to get out of their dead-end town. They've been dreaming about it for as long as they can remember, and they are almost there. A few more months and they can leave behind the neglectful parents, all the people who look the other way, and the fridges that never have enough food inside. They are so close to freedom until they each make a choice, a series of choices really, that alters their path forever. And finally, of all of the Gottwal's books that we ended up with, the last one I had is The Infinite In Between, which basically just follows like a group of friends through the 4 years of high school and goes from there. And there we go. I definitely tried to find as much as I could out of long-term wishlist residents, but also just when we were so close to that 20 book limit to get the sale pricing, went ahead and tried to make sure I branched out a little bit to some new books that I may not have ever heard of, and maybe we'll find some new favorites, because sometimes that happens and we all need to branch out just a little bit more sometimes, even if I already have a couple hundred books on my wish list already picked for. I digress. But anyway, it was an awesome time. I think we spent like 3 hours looking through all the books, and it was just a really great day, and definitely excited to go to Gottwal's again in the future as always, and hang out with Angela some more, since we have had a chance to kind of talk over books, and I already need to find a chance to meet up with her, because we have decided to do a couple of book swaps here, where I will actually be gifting her my copy of Beautiful Redemption, which is on that shelf out of frame, probably. Since I have mistakenly grabbed a mismatching copy for the rest of my Beautiful Creature series that is up here in paperback, and she prefers the hardback ones when she was looking to get a copy of the books, so we've worked some things out. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers everything for this time. I hope that some of these titles that you may not have heard of, I know a lot of them are very common, but maybe you've heard some new ones today that are interesting to you as well. Definitely feel free to chat with me about any of them in the comments, and in the meantime, if you need me, I'll be reading.
Pour le jour et un mari pour la nuit. J'ai un amant pour l'amour et un mari pour la vie. Si je le trompe le jour, je suis fidèle la nuit. Ma vie se passe toujours au ciel de